The call across the stars. The morning sun of Kepler 442 bits painted the crystal spires of New Harmony in shades of amber and gold. Elder Vex stood at the observation deck of the High Council chamber, watching the daily ritual of his people beginning their work in the floating gardens. The Zerathi had built their civilization on principles of beauty, knowledge, and peaceful coexistence. Their translucent blue skin shimmered with natural bioluminescence that reflected their emotional state. And today, Vex's glow was dim with worry. 3 months had passed since the first reports arrived from the outer colonies. Ships of unknown design had appeared at the edge of Zerathi space, demanding submission to something called the Nephilim Empire. When the colonists refused, the ships had opened fire without warning. Entire settlements were reduced to ash within hours. Elder Vex, came a soft voice behind him. Council member Lyra approached, her own blue skin flickering with anxiety. The emergency session is ready to begin. Vex turned from the window, his 4 arms clasping together in the traditional gesture of resolve. The Zerathi had evolved from an aquatic species, and their elongated limbs and webbed fingers still showed traces of their oceanic origins. How many colonies have we lost contact with since yesterday? 7 more, Lyra whispered, her bioluminescent patches dimming to almost nothing. The Nephilim Empire is moving faster than our evacuation ships. They show no interest in negotiation or mercy. The High Council chamber was a marvel of Zerathi architecture, with flowing curves and natural lighting that promoted calm discussion. Today, however, the usual serenity was replaced by desperate urgency. 12 council members sat around the organic table, their combined glow creating an eerie blue light in the darkened room. Elder Vex took his place at the head of the table, his ancient eyes scanning the faces of his colleagues. At 300 years old, he was the oldest among them, having lived through the golden age of Zerathi expansion and discovery. Never in his lifetime had they faced anything like this. Fellow counselors, Vex began, his voice carrying the weight of their species' fate. We have exhausted all conventional options. Our defense fleets are outnumbered 50 to 1. Our diplomatic envoys have been destroyed on sight. The Nephilim Empire offers only 2 choices: complete surrender or total annihilation. Council member Thane, the youngest member at barely 80 years old, raised one of his 4 arms. Elder, what of the neighboring systems? Surely the Altarian Republic or the Cosmic Federation would offer assistance. Vex's skin dimmed further. The Altarians have already fallen. Their capital world is now a Nephilim stronghold. The Cosmic Federation has retreated beyond the galactic rim, abandoning this entire sector to save themselves. A heavy silence fell over the chamber. The Zerathi had always believed that civilization would triumph over barbarism, that intelligent species would naturally evolve beyond warfare and conquest. The Nephilim Empire had shattered that belief with brutal efficiency. There is one final option, Vex continued, reaching into a secured compartment beneath the table. He withdrew an object that made several council members gasp in recognition. The artifact was cylindrical, about the length of Vex's forearm, made from some unknown metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange symbols covered its surface, symbols that no living Zerathi fully understood. The beacon of distant hope, Lyra breathed. Elder, that artifact has been inactive for over 2,000 years. Our historians believe it to be ceremonial, perhaps even mythological. Vex placed the beacon carefully at the center of the table. Our historians also believe that galactic war was a thing of the distant past. We must reconsider what we think we know. He activated a holographic display that showed ancient Zerathi texts, their translations incomplete and filled with gaps. According to these fragments, Vex explained, this beacon was created during the time of shadows, when our ancestors faced a similar threat. They used it to call for aid from across the galaxy. The response came from a world they called Terra or Earth in some translations. Council member Kess, the chief xenobiologist, leaned forward with interest. Earth? I studied the galactic databases extensively. There are records of a system by that name in the Orion Arm, but it's classified as a developing world. Primitive by our standards. Perhaps our standards are wrong, Vex replied quietly. The fragments describe the people of Earth as builders and healers, master crafters who brought peace to the galaxy during the ancient wars. If such a civilization exists, perhaps they have grown powerful enough to help us now. The debate that followed was intense but brief. With Nephilim forces only days away from their homeworld, they had little choice. The vote was unanimous. Activate the beacon of distant hope and pray that someone, somewhere, would answer their call. Vex's hands trembled as he began the activation sequence, following instructions carved in stone 2 millennia ago. The beacon hummed to life, its dark surface beginning to glow with internal energy. Symbols that had been invisible before now pulsed with increasing brightness. The transmission is encoding automatically, reported Thane, monitoring the beacon's output. It's using quantum entanglement communication, faster than light. The signal strength is incredible, reaching across galactic distances. As the beacon's glow intensified, Vex spoke the ancient words that accompanied the transmission. To those who hear this call, we are the Zarathi of Kepler 442 bits. We face extinction at the hands of the Nephilim Empire. We seek not conquest or dominance, but the simple right to exist in peace. If there is compassion in the galaxy, if there are those who stand against darkness, we humbly request your aid. The beacon pulsed once, brilliantly, then settled into a steady rhythm. The message was sent, traveling across the void between galaxies at speeds that defied conventional physics. Meanwhile, 54 light-years away, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, humanity's most advanced deep space cruiser. The ship was part of the 7th Fleet, conducting routine patrol exercises in the outer system. At 45 years old, Chen had served in Earth's United Space Navy for over 2 decades, rising through the ranks during humanity's rapid expansion into space. Admiral, called Lieutenant Commander Jackson from the communications station, we're receiving an unusual signal. It's not matching any known format in our databases. Chen moved to the communication console, her experienced eyes scanning the data streams. The signal was unlike anything in Earth's records, clearly artificial, highly complex, and originating from outside their local galactic neighborhood. Source and strength, she asked. The signal appears to be coming from the direction of Kepler 442 bits, approximately 54 light-years distant, Jackson replied. But Admiral, the signal strength suggests it's using some form of instantaneous transmission. Our quantum physicists say that should be impossible. Chen's training kicked in immediately. Unknown technology, possibly hostile, possibly a trap. But as the ship's AI began decoding the transmission, her perspective shifted dramatically. Admiral, the AI announced through the ship's speakers, I have successfully translated the incoming message. It appears to be a distress call from a species identifying themselves as the Zarathi. They claim to be facing extinction from an aggressive force called the Nephilim Empire. The bridge fell silent. First contact with an alien species had always been theoretical, something for future generations to handle. The reality was both thrilling and terrifying. Full analysis, Chen ordered. I want to know everything. Signal origin, technological implications, potential threats, and authentication of the message content. Over the next 6 hours, the Prometheus's advanced computers worked alongside Earth's finest xenolinguists and military analysts. The picture that emerged was both clear and disturbing. The Zarathi were a peaceful species under attack by a genocidal empire. Their technology was advanced in some areas, but completely lacking in military applications. They were asking for humanitarian aid, expecting perhaps medical supplies or refugee transport. Chen stood in her ready room, reviewing the complete translation of the Zarathi message. The aliens had included cultural and historical information, describing themselves as artists, philosophers, and scientists who had abandoned warfare centuries ago. They spoke of the attacking Nephilim Empire as a force of pure destruction, conquering species after species across their region of space. What struck Chen most was the Zarathi's description of their beacon. According to their historical records, it had been used once before to contact Earth during an ancient crisis. The fragments suggested that humans had provided aid during a dark period in galactic history, helping to restore peace and order. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority transmission from Earth Command. Fleet Admiral Marcus Rodriguez appeared on the holographic display, his weathered face showing the strain of command decisions that affected billions of lives. Admiral Chen, Rodriguez began without preamble. I've reviewed your preliminary report on the alien distress call. The Joint Chiefs and the Security Council are in emergency session. This is potentially the most significant moment in human history. Agreed, sir, Chen replied. The Zarathi appear to be genuine in their distress. Their technology suggests a highly advanced but peaceful civilization. The attacking force, this Nephilim Empire, represents a clear threat to galactic stability. Rodriguez nodded grimly. There's something else. Admiral, our deep space monitoring stations have detected unusual activity in the direction of Kepler 442 bits. High-energy signatures consistent with large-scale warfare. Whatever's happening there, it's happening now. Chen felt her pulse quicken. Orders, sir. You're authorized to take the 7th Fleet to the Kepler 442-bit system immediately. Official mission parameters are reconnaissance and humanitarian aid. Unofficial parameters. Rodriguez paused, meeting Chen's eyes through the hologram. Use your best judgment, Admiral. These Zarathi asked Earth for help once before, according to their records. Apparently, we answered that call. It's time to see if we can do it again. As the transmission ended, Chen returned to the bridge where her crew was already preparing for the most important mission in human history. The 7th Fleet consisted of the Prometheus, 6 heavy cruisers, 12 destroyers, and numerous support vessels. It was ostensibly a patrol fleet, but its firepower rivaled that of entire planetary defense systems. All ships report ready for hyperspace jump, reported Commander Torres from the tactical station. Chen looked out at the stars, knowing that in a few hours, humanity would make contact with an alien species for the first time. The Zarathi expected builders and healers, peaceful benefactors who would offer supplies and sanctuary. They had no idea they were about to receive something far more powerful, Earth's military might, forged through millennia of conflict and refined through decades of preparation for exactly this kind of threat. Engage hyperspace drive, Chen commanded. All ships, jump on my mark. It's time to answer the call. When Earth answers the call, the hyperspace emergence was flawless, a testament to human engineering and naval precision. The 7th Fleet materialized at the edge of the Kepler 442-bit system in perfect formation, their combined mass displacing enough space-time to create visible distortions in the star's light. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching as the main display resolved into a tactical view of the system ahead. What she saw made her jaw clench with controlled anger. The inner system was a war zone. Debris fields marked the locations of destroyed orbital stations and defensive platforms. 2 of the system's 5 planets showed the distinctive scorch marks of orbital bombardment, their surfaces blackened with the ash of dead civilizations. Most disturbing of all were the ships. Hundreds of alien vessels filled the space around Kepler 442 bits, the Zarathi homeworld. The larger ships were clearly hostile. Angular, predatory designs that spoke of a species bred for conquest. They surrounded the planet like vultures, their weapons trained on the surface below. Smaller ships, obviously Zarathi by their organic curves and bioluminescent markings, darted desperately between the attackers, trying to evacuate civilians from the surface. Tactical analysis, Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the horror unfolding before them. Commander Torres worked quickly at his station. Approximately 400 hostile vessels, Admiral. Largest class appears to be dreadnought-sized, roughly equivalent to our heavy cruisers. They're using plasma-based energy weapons and some form of kinetic bombardment system. The defending ships are vastly outgunned. And the defenders? Maybe 30 vessels still operational. They appear to be converted civilian craft with minimal weapon systems. They're not fighting, Admiral. They're just trying to save lives. Chen studied the tactical display with the eyes of a professional warrior. The Nephilim Empire had deployed overwhelming force against a defenseless opponent. It wasn't war. It was extermination. Communications, open a channel to the defending vessels. All frequencies. Lieutenant Commander Jackson's fingers flew over his console. Channel open, Admiral. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We are responding to your distress call. Identify yourselves and your current status. The response came immediately, transmitted on multiple frequencies simultaneously. The voice was clearly alien, higher pitched than human vocal ranges, with an unusual harmonic quality. But the universal translator converted it to accented English. Chen's tactical mind was already working. Elder Vex, move your evacuation ships to coordinates I'm transmitting now. Position them behind our fleet formation. Behind your fleet. The confusion in Vex's voice was obvious. Admiral Chen, with respect, you have brought only 37 ships. The Nephilim force numbers in the hundreds. You cannot possibly. Elder Vex. Chen interrupted gently. I think there's been a misunderstanding about what kind of aid Earth was sending. As the Zerathi evacuation ships moved toward the coordinates Chen had provided, the Nephilim fleet began to react to the newcomers. The nearest group of hostile vessels, about 20 ships, broke formation and moved to intercept the human fleet. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Chen watched the approaching enemy with calm professionalism. All ships, battle formation Delta. Target the lead Nephilim vessels, but do not fire until fired upon. Let's see what we're dealing with. The Nephilim ships were impressive by most standards. Sleek predators designed for intimidation and destruction. Their dark hulls absorbed light, making them difficult to track visually, and their weapon ports glowed with the promise of violence. The lead ship was massive, nearly a kilometer in length, bristling with gun turrets and missile launchers. Chen had faced similar odds during the Centauri Rebellion and the Titan mining wars. The Nephilim ships were large and heavily armed, but they moved with the ponderous predictability of bullies accustomed to facing defenseless opponents. Incoming transmission from the lead Nephilim vessel, Jackson reported. Put it through. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that made several bridge crew members step back in shock. The Nephilim commander was a nightmare made manifest, a creature that seemed assembled from the parts of various predators. Its elongated skull housed 6 burning red eyes, while razor-sharp teeth filled a mouth that was far too wide for any rational anatomy. When it spoke, its voice was a harsh rasp that the translator barely managed to convert. Unknown vessels, you have entered Nephilim territory without permission. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. The Zerathi are our prey, and we do not share. Chen stood calmly before the screen, her uniform pressed and perfect, her expression that of a professional addressing an irritating interruption to her schedule. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. The Zerathi have requested aid, and we are providing it. You are ordered to cease hostilities and withdraw from this system immediately. The Nephilim commander's mouth stretched into what might have been a grin, revealing even more teeth. Foolish mammals, you face the might of the Nephilim Empire, conquerors of 47 worlds, devourers of the weak. Your pathetic fleet will burn like all the others. I see, Chen replied with the same calm tone. In that case, you have made your intentions clear. She gestured to Torres. All ships, weapons free. Target their engines and weapon systems. Let's keep casualties to a minimum while we educate them about human military doctrine. The first exchange lasted exactly 47 seconds. The Nephilim ships opened fire with everything they had. plasma beams that could melt through planetary crust, kinetic projectiles moving at relativistic speeds, and exotic energy weapons that created brief tears in space-time itself. It was an impressive display of destructive capability, the kind of firepower that had reduced dozens of civilizations to radioactive dust. It struck the lead human ships and accomplished absolutely nothing. Earth's military technology had been forged in the crucible of interplanetary warfare and refined through decades of arms races with hostile alien species humanity had encountered during its expansion. The Prometheus's shields didn't even flicker under the Nephilim assault. The other ships of the 7th Fleet absorbed the enemy barrage with equal ease, their defensive systems centuries more advanced than anything the Nephilim had encountered. The human response was surgical in its precision. Targeted plasma beams, fired with computer-controlled accuracy, struck every Nephilim weapon system simultaneously. The enemy ships found themselves suddenly defenseless, their primary armaments reduced to cooling slag in seconds. Follow-up shots disabled their engines, leaving them drifting helplessly in space. The entire Nephilim attack squadron was neutralized without a single human casualty. Aboard the Zarathi evacuation ship Harmony's Dream, Elder Vex stared at the tactical display in stunned disbelief. Council member Lyra stood beside him, her bioluminescent skin flickering in patterns that indicated complete cognitive overload. "That's impossible," Lyra whispered. 20 Nephilim warships, defeated in less than a minute. The humans barely moved. Vex's 4 arms trembled as he activated the communication system. "Admiral Chen, we don't understand. The Nephilim Empire has conquered nearly 50 worlds. Their technology is the most advanced we have ever encountered. How did you defeat them so easily?" Chen's voice came through the speakers with the same calm professionalism. "Elder Vex, I think we need to have a conversation about human history and the nature of the aid you requested. Permission to come aboard your vessel." 30 minutes later, Admiral Chen materialized in the Harmony's Dream's main conference chamber via military transporter, accompanied by Commander Torres and a small diplomatic team. The Zarathi delegation was already waiting, their blue skin dim with confusion and growing apprehension. Chen looked around the chamber, taking in the organic architecture and peaceful aesthetics that spoke of a truly gentle species. These beings had never known war as humans understood it. They had built their civilization on art, philosophy, and the pursuit of knowledge, abandoning violence so completely that they have forgotten how to fight. "Elder Vex," Chen began, sitting carefully in a chair that had been hastily modified for human physiology. "Your message described Earth as a world of builders and healers. That description is accurate, but incomplete." She activated a portable holographic projector, showing images from human history, cities rising from nothing, medical advances that conquered disease, artistic achievements that captured the beauty of existence itself. "We are builders," she continued. "Humanity has constructed wonders that span star systems. We are healers. Our medical technology has eliminated death from aging and disease. We are artists, philosophers, and scientists, much like yourselves." The images shifted, showing humanity's darker achievements, weapons of unimaginable power, military formations that could reduce planets to rubble, the controlled fury of a species that had learned to wage war across the galaxy. "But we are also warriors, Elder Vex. We have never forgotten how to fight, because the universe has never stopped trying to destroy us. The peaceful garden of civilization can only exist when there are guardians willing to defend it." Vex's skin had gone completely pale, its bioluminescence reduced to almost nothing. The ancient records spoke of Earth bringing peace to the galaxy during the time of shadows. We assumed this meant you were a peaceful species." Chen smiled sadly. "We brought peace by ending the wars, Elder Vex, and we ended the wars by being better at fighting them than anyone else in the galaxy." Commander Torres activated another section of the holographic display, showing the current tactical situation. The remaining Nephilim fleet was repositioning, clearly preparing for a major assault on the human vessels. "Your beacon reached us across galactic distances," Chen explained. It triggered protocols established during humanity's first expansion into space. When a species calls Earth for aid against genocidal conquest, we respond with everything we have. She stood, her expression hardening with resolve. The Nephilim Empire ends here, Elder Vex. Today, your people will be safe, your worlds will be protected, and any species that chooses genocide over coexistence will learn why humanity has never lost a war. Through the chamber's transparent walls, they could see the Seventh Fleet repositioning itself between the Zarathi homeworld and the massive Nephilim armada. The human ships moved with predatory grace, their weapon systems powering up with energies that made the surrounding space shimmer with barely contained power. Elder Vex looked at Admiral Chen, with new understanding dawning in his ancient eyes. You didn't come to evacuate us. No, Chen replied, walking toward the chamber's observation ports. We came to save you. There's a difference. As she spoke, the remaining 300 Nephilim warships began their final assault, confident that sheer numbers would overwhelm the small human fleet. They had conquered dozens of species with similar tactics, using overwhelming force to break the will of civilized beings who had forgotten how to wage war. They were about to learn the difference between conquest and warfare, between bullying the defenseless and facing an enemy that had spent millennia perfecting the art of organized violence. The Battle of Kepler 442 bits was about to begin, and with it, the Nephilim Empire's first and last encounter with humanity's true nature. Admiral Chen touched the communicator on her collar. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We have refugees to protect and a homeworld to defend. Show these Nephilim why Earth never ignores a call for help. The response came from every ship in the fleet simultaneously. I, Admiral, for Earth and the innocent.